This is the soul behind the curtain, a safe space where you don't have to perform, where we explore what's real beneath the patterns, beneath the roles, beneath the masks, beneath who you've been programmed to be. I'm Lulu, and here we shed the layers and learn to accept our truth. Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to hold on to something, the faster it seems to slip away? That the moment you want something the most is often the moment it becomes the hardest to receive? The promotion, the relationship, the money, the opportunity, even happiness itself. We spend our entire lives gripping because we're terrified that if we loosen our grip, we lose everything. Somewhere along the way, we stopped planting seeds and we started trying to pull the fruit off the tree before it had even grown. What if holding on is exactly what's making us suffer? I think letting go is one of the most misunderstood concepts in psychology. People hear let go and assume it means I shouldn't care, I should stop loving, I should move on. No, that's emotional suppression. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to control. There's a huge difference. We are addicted to outcomes. We think that the outcome gives us peace. I'll be happy when, I'll relax when, I'll feel worthy when. We postpone life. Maybe you're holding on to a relationship, a dream, a revenge, an old version of yourself. Maybe certainty, maybe control. But the question here isn't, what are you holding on to? The better question is, why are you so afraid of letting go? Contrary to what you may think, your brain doesn't want freedom. Your brain needs certainty. The brain hates open loops. This naturally explains why we obsess over outcomes. Here's the fascinating part. Your brain isn't designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you alive. We as psychologists call it loss aversion, which is a cognitive bias where the psychological pain of losing something feels twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining an equivalent thing. For example, losing $100 hurts much more than finding $100. People take much bigger risks to prevent a loss than they do to achieve a gain. Investors keep losing stocks too long, hoping prices will bounce back to avoid locking in a loss. People value items they already own much higher than identical items they do not own. We experience losing something much more intensely than gaining something, which is why our brain hates unfinished stories. This is something we call rumination. Rumination is the continuous and repetitive dwelling on negative thoughts, past mistakes, or distressing feelings without finding a solution. We keep replaying old arguments or awkward moments over and over, asking why things happened instead of seeking to fix it. It's like getting a song stuck in your head, but instead of a fun song, it is a sad or worrying song that plays on repeat. It's like a mental hamster wheel. Your mind runs and runs, but it stays stuck in the exact same place. That's why you replay conversations, why you stalk your ex, why you imagine different endings. Your brain keeps trying to finish what life already ended. Then, uncertainty enters, and uncertainty is terrifying for the nervous system because it feels unsafe. So instead, your brain clings, not because it's healthy, because it's familiar. When you're playing a video game, doing your homework, or catching a ball, your brain is focused on the outside world. But when you stop doing those things and just sit quietly, your brain doesn't actually turn off. Instead, the default mode network switches on. Think of it as your brain's autopilot or screensaver mode. Your mind wanders, and it turns on when you stare out the window and start daydreaming. You can even do that when you time travel, when you remember what you did yesterday or picture your next birthday party. It helps you think about yourself, your feelings, and what your friends might be thinking about you. Sometimes, if this autopilot mode stays on for too long, it can make you worry or overthink things, which finally leads us to the predictive brain. Instead of waiting around for your ears and eyes to tell it what's happening, your brain is always guessing what is about to happen next based on what happened in the past. When you walk into your kitchen, your brain already guesses you will see a fridge, a table, and maybe a snack. Your eyes look around to check if the brain guess was right. And if everything is normal, your brain stays relaxed. If there's a giant penguin sitting on your kitchen table, your brain gets a huge surprise. And when your brain gets that huge surprise, it triggers an oops signal called a prediction error. This signal wakes your brain up, makes you pay close attention, and fixes the guess so you can learn what is actually happening. And the reason why it does this is because it saves energy. Guessing is much faster and easier for your brain than examining every tiny detail from scratch every single second. It protects you and helps you react super fast, like catching a ball before you even fully realize it was thrown at you. So you don't actually see the world exactly as it is, you see what your brain expects to see. Here's the surprise: we don't hold on to people, we hold on to identities. You're not grieving your ex, you're grieving who you were with them. You're not grieving your old career, you're grieving the version of yourself who believed life would look different. We hold on to versions of ourselves: the girl I was before the betrayal, the athlete before the injury, the child I was before the trauma, the career before the burnout. You aren't grieving the person, you're grieving the version of yourself that existed with them. You're not trying to get someone back, you're trying to get yourself back. But here's the truth: maybe you weren't meant to become that version. You were meant to become this one. Trying to control the outcome and having a tight grip on what happens next leads to many negative things, including receiving less opportunities from this world. We tend to think, I've done everything right, so why am I still anxious? Because somewhere your effort became attached to the outcome. Psychology tells us that when athletes focus entirely on winning, they actually perform worse. When musicians obsess over perfection, they make more mistakes. Why? Our attention shifts away from the process towards fear. The tighter you grip the outcome, the smaller your world becomes. When you focus on only one outcome or one scenario, you are denying yourself of the opportunities that will come to you from this world. The world for you becomes small. You stop planting seeds. You're obsessed with harvesting fruit that hasn't grown yet. The moment you stop trying to control the harvest is often the moment you're finally free. And then you can plant the seed. The seed can grow into a tree, but it can also grow into a branch. Sometimes letting go of the outcome opens the door to more possibilities. If you focus on making sure that you're watering your plant consistently, making sure that you're exposing it to the right amount of sun, this plant can grow into something much bigger than a tree. One day, you'll wake up and find an entire garden. Once you let go, you open yourself up to miracles. Because as long as we're doing our part and letting go, Allah will handle the rest. Humans tend to chase what runs away from them. This isn't about romance, it's about psychology. The more desperate you become, the more you communicate, I need this. And need creates pressure, and pressure creates resistance. That means you are in lack. If you need something, then you don't have it, and that is the message you are communicating, both to yourself and to the world around you. This applies to love, it applies to business, it applies to money, it applies to basically everything. The main idea here is you're not letting go because you stopped caring. You're letting go because the obsession is exhausting. Control on its own is an illusion. It does not exist. We perceive the idea of control as something that we have in our hands, but we don't. Anything is possible at any moment. You could plan your entire life, and one moment can change the entire trajectory of where you were going. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop demanding that life looks one particular way, you become available to all the ways it actually can. Now let's discuss our greatest currency. What is the most valuable thing that you own? Is it money? Is it health? Or is it time? No. It's your energy, your attention. It's wherever your attention goes, wherever your emotions follow, your nervous system follows, and then your habits follow, and then your relationships follow. Eventually, that becomes your life. Attention is literally outcome attachment. You're constantly checking, refreshing, waiting, comparing, monitoring. Your energy is your greatest currency. Wherever your energy goes, that's where your life goes. Every single day, something is asking for your attention. It's in your phone, it's in the breaking news, in social media, politics, celebrity culture, outrage, comparison, algorithms, work demands, financial stress. I could go on and on and on and on. None of these things are inherently evil, but all of them are asking the same question. Can I borrow your energy? One notification, one headline, one argument, one more scroll. By themselves, they're tiny. Together, they shape an entire life. Everything is competing for your awareness. Perhaps letting go isn't only letting go of people. Perhaps it's letting go of unnecessary consumers of your energy and your attention. Let me ask you this. If I looked at where your attention went this week, would I be able to predict the person you're becoming? The lotus flower wasn't dangerous because it was pleasurable. It was dangerous because people stopped wanting to return to their lives. The people who shape their lives aren't always the people with the most talent. Often, they're simply the people who became fiercely protective of where their attention goes. Have you ever wondered why some of the most ruthless people seem to accumulate extraordinary wealth, while some of the most kindest people struggle financially? Perhaps the first mistake is assuming wealth is a reward for goodness or poverty is a reward for righteousness. Psychology does not support this. Many people who build wealth carry a deep belief that they deserve to occupy space, ask for opportunities, negotiate, and receive. That belief can become unhealthy when it turns into exploitation. But a healthy sense of deserving is not arrogance, it's self-worth. The problem begins when deserving becomes exploitation, when ambition becomes greed, when confidence becomes oppression. Islam never asked us to shrink ourselves. It asks us to purify ourselves. Somehow, we've inherited this belief that to be a good Muslim, we should remain exhausted, poor, ashamed of wanting beautiful things, ashamed of wanting success. But where did that come from? We believe that the world is a prison for the believer and a paradise for the disbeliever. I think many of us only inherited one layer of that narration. A prison has boundaries. As Muslims, there are things that we willingly refrain from: alcohol, zina, drugs, oppression, murder. Not because Allah wants to deprive us, but because discipline protects us. Those restrictions don't mean we're forbidden from building beautiful lives. You can love Allah and build a company. You can pray and own your dream home. You can drive your dream car, raise beautiful children, travel the world, give charity, leave a legacy. Balance has always been part of our religion. Success isn't the problem. Making success your only outcome is. The Quran repeatedly reminds us that wealth, influence, and power are themselves tests. If someone uses power to oppress, exploit, destroy, or harm, worldly increase should never be mistaken for divine approval. Sometimes greater power simply means a greater test and a greater accountability. Ultimately, this life is temporary for all of us. If someone chooses to spend it pursuing only this world, that is their path. That is their heaven. As believers, we are invited to build in this world while remembering the next, not choosing one over the other, holding both with balance. And perhaps the greatest thing we've forgotten is that our religion begins with mercy. Somehow, we remembered the rules and forgot the mercy. Always remember that everything happens because of us. There's a difference between accepting responsibility for your future and blaming yourself for every hardship you've experienced. I'm not telling you something I've mastered, I'm telling you what I'm actually still practicing. There's a concept in Islam that I think we've all misunderstood. It's called sa'i. It means striving, putting in effort, doing everything within your capacity. But here's the part we often forget. Sa'i ends. At some point, there is nothing left for you to do. When I launched this podcast, I recorded the episodes, I edited them, I designed the artwork, I uploaded them to YouTube. Then got called to apply to Spotify, then Apple Podcasts, then Anghami. Got approval. I made clips for Instagram and TikTok. I'm posting consistently. I shared them with people who I thought might benefit. I learned about thumbnails, titles, algorithms. I did everything I knew how to do. That is sa'i. Whether it reaches 10 people, 10,000, 10 million, no longer belongs to me. The same applies to my health. I've been on this journey for over a year. I train, I eat differently. I show up when I'm in a plateau. I keep learning, I keep adjusting, I keep trying. That's my responsibility. Whether the scale moves this week isn't. It's the same when I apply for opportunities. I prepare, I study, I negotiate, I improve my skills, I attend the interview, then I leave. I think many of us keep performing sa'i long after it's finished. We refresh our emails, we keep checking analytics, we replay conversations. We wonder if they texted, we calculate, we obsess. We call it effort. It's not effort. This is anxiety pretending to be productivity. This is an illusion of control. There's a moment where effort quietly transforms into control, and that is usually the moment peace leaves us. Tawakkul isn't sitting on your sofa waiting for Allah to change your life, and it isn't exhausting yourself trying to control every possible outcome. It lives exactly in the space between those two extremes. Do everything you can, then stop. Because after sa'i comes surrender. Faith isn't believing Allah will give you what you asked for. Faith is believing that whatever comes after your sincere effort is exactly what you need, exactly what's good for you. I don't know where this podcast will go. I know it's gonna go somewhere crazy, and I decided that it will. But I don't know if I'll reach the hundreds or the thousands or the millions today. I do hope it reaches everyone who needs it though. I've reached a point where I can honestly say I've planted the seed. I am watering it. I am caring for it. Now I leave the harvest to Allah. The harvest was never mine. The planting was. I made a decision that I'm going to be a millionaire, a multimillionaire, a billionaire, and I know it's going to happen. I don't care when, I don't care why, I don't care how. I am simply embodying the version of myself that I want to be. It exists in the feeling. When I wake up every day and decide to respect my body and nourish it properly, when I decide to move, when I decide to do something productive, when I decide to splurge on myself. These are things that connect me to the highest version of myself. And all I have to do is continue practicing, continue being that person. I don't care what happens, when it happens, why it happens. I know I'm gonna reach there because I have made the intention. And now it's no longer in my hands, it's in Allah's. So maybe that's what letting go really is. Not becoming passive, not giving up, not pretending you don't care, but you trust. Trust that your effort matters, even when the outcome hasn't arrived. Trust that Allah sees the seed long before anyone sees the tree. Trust that your responsibility ends at sincere effort, not certainty. There's a difference between taking responsibility for your future and blaming yourself for every hardship you've experienced. One leads to growth, and the other leads to shame. For the next 7 days, don't track where your money goes. Track where your attention goes. Write it down. Because the person you're becoming is simply the sum of what you've repeatedly given your awareness to. Letting go isn't losing something, it's finally putting down what was never yours to carry. And perhaps the greatest freedom you'll ever experience is getting more than you've ever wanted. It's discovering that peace was never waiting for the outcome. It was waiting for the moment you loosened your grip. Thank you for stepping behind the curtain with me today. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who's learning to trust the process of becoming. Until next time, keep questioning your patterns, keep embracing the truth, and keep listening to the soul beneath it all.